The goal in life is to be mortgage free. Control your emotions, have integrity. If you want to use my likeness, I need equity. And if you're really trying to win, you need to bear with me. Yeah, the goal in life is to be mortgage free. Control your emotions, have integrity. And if you want to use my likeness, I need equity.
Welcome back to another episode of the Housing Hustle. Real estate agents talking real estate conversations. And on this episode, we're going to be discussing the rent to own program. But before we get into it, make sure you give us a like and a subscribe so that you can be notified each and every time we release a new episode. Okay, so a quick rent to own fact, renting versus owning. Even when you're renting, just know that you are still paying someone's mortgage. So if you were delaying on trying to get into home ownership because you did not want to take on a mortgage, just know that a mortgage is being paid all the time. So let's transition from paying someone else's mortgage to yours. Let's show you how. So without further ado, welcome to our real estate presentation. Today, we will be discussing the Rent to Own program, an Ontario-based initiative designed to help families overcome the financial barriers to home ownership. I would like to introduce the dream team. So we have myself, Sean Findlay, licensed real estate agent with Century 21. We also have my partner, Mr. Ian Lovell, a devoted real estate agent with over 20 years experience. As well, we have Mr. Trevor Evans, our office manager, who could not be here today with us, but he sends his regards. So on today's agenda, we're going to be discussing why our program versus other programs. I want you guys to know that not all rent-to-own programs are created equal. There are many rent-to-own programs in Ontario, so we will be discussing what makes ours a better program than the rest of them. We're going to be discussing our program details, two common paths to home ownership, what are the costs associated with the rent-to-own program. So at this point in time, I'm going to pass the mic off to my partner, Ian Lovell, who will get into the discussion of why our program.
Hey, thanks, Sean. Thanks a lot. This is going to be some great information because a lot of times, folks are just struggling to see how can we get into home ownership. And with the market the way it is right now, people are afraid that they can't get into a home. They're looking at rents. Rents are so high. It is actually exorbitant. It's crazy the way rents are right through the province. It doesn't matter where you are in the province, rents are high everywhere, all the way from Ottawa all the way to Windsor. And therefore, we want to be able to show that there is a path to home ownership. This path we're talking about, why we think that we know what we're doing. We've been doing this program since 2005. I'm not going to do the numbers, but that's a lot of years, right? So I think we probably know what we're doing. We're part of CARA, which is an overseeing board that oversees rent-own programs in Canada. We've been a part of that board. We're a Diamond member actually since 2015. And so over 1,200 people we put into the program, not just put into the program, but now they're owning properties, right? And so that defines why I think we're one of the better programs, is because we don't just get people into the program, we get them owning homes, owning properties, having legacy for their families. Now, rental details, first and foremost, is that there is no minimum Beacon score. So we're not really concerned about your Beacon score because you can come into the program with a consumer proposal, with bankruptcies. The issue again is that we're not concerned about that because part of our program is that we want to correct your credit. The way we look at your budget, that's really, really critical. We just look at the gross income of your family. So if it's a husband and wife, and even if you have a son or daughter that's going to be coming on, we look at your gross income multiplied by 4.5. If you have an income of $100,000, then your budget would be approximately $450,000. Very simple to be able to figure out what your budget's going to look like. And the down payment is between 3 to 5%, and this is all dependent upon where your credit is. Better the credit, the lower your down payment that's required. The worse your credit, it's going to be a higher down payment. The way it works as far as the payment, and this is where people ask us all the time, how does the payment work? First and foremost is that there is a base rent, and the base rent is predicated basically on the mortgage that is being paid on that property, right? And then there's a second part, which is really important, which is called what we call additional savings, which is the down payment. This is essentially every month you're putting money towards your down payment, because in order for us to get you a mortgage, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that you have accumulated a down payment. What this means, this is really important, let's listen to this really carefully, is that from day one, you're getting equity in your property, right? You know, you're not just paying a rent out, you're actually getting an equity in your property, and therefore that's a part of the down savings payment. And I just want to add this, is that rent-own is going to be more expensive than just renting. And so I say that a lot of times you have not saved for your property. This forces you to save in order to get you that down payment. Therefore, there's a sacrifice that's required here. But if you're going to save for 2-3 years and make sure that you have a significant down payment, a lot of equity in that property, and then when you get that property, you can then exhale and say, yeah, we were able to do it, right? And the key thing is that anytime you want something that's really critical, and this is a life-changing, there is a sacrifice. Let's understand that there is a sacrifice, and therefore those additional down savings that's you're paying, it's a sacrifice, but it's going to be for your good, for your family good, for generations, and therefore that's how that payment works. Okay, including the payments is your property taxes, the insurance. Yeah, let's keep that on for a second. You got to make sure. Last one. Let's also make sure that you understand you have to pay your own utilities. And one thing that's really important is that you can have between 1 to 4 units in here. Therefore, you can actually have a unit and then rent out all the units in order for you to be able to get income yourself. So you keep that income. That's not going to the investor that bought your property. That is going to you, right? So you can actually have several units in your property, and then you can be renting out to other individuals. So that's another reason why our program is better. And also the last part that's important is also we use a 4% appreciation for the price that the investor is going to sell you the property back to you. When we get the property for you, we get a budget, and an investor buys that property, and what happens is that we use a 4% appreciation for what the investor is going to sell it back to you. And we're going to go to a chart. Let's go to the next one. And this is going to explain it a little bit more. What you understand here, let's say, for instance, you come into the rental program, and you're going to be buying, that investor buys that house for you for $600,000. Well, there's going to be a 4% appreciation whereby he's going to sell the property back to you for $675,000 after 3 years. And therefore, that's your buyout price. But let's understand, the market is probably going to be higher than that buyout price, because on average, the market has been increasing between 6 to 12% on a year-to-year basis. And let's say, for instance, after 3 years, this property from $600,000, it increases by 12%. It increases to $843,000 after 3 years. Let's understand, that is equity that you have now accumulated in that property, right? Therefore, the investor is not going to say, no, we're going to sell it back to you for $843. No, you've already fixed the price at $675, and your market equity is $843,000. That's what that property's worth right then. That means that you've already accumulated over $168,000 in equity. That's pretty significant. So that's why I'm saying that you build equity two ways. One is that in your monthly payments, you're building equity, but also you're building equity through the market. And therefore, you should have a significant amount of equity by the time you take ownership of that property.
And I just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
What's special about this rent-to-own program, which is a tenant-first program versus other programs, is when you enter the program, there's a prearranged sales price of the house that you get at a later date. So you're not going in blindly wondering what the sales price will be at the end of the term, which is like some other rent-to-own programs. Some other rent-to-own programs, they go into the program, they're saving monthly, but then they wait until the end of the term, and that's when their landlord lets them know what the sale price of the house will be. You may have to qualify in another program for that $843,000. So you're buying it at a much higher price. With our program, which is a tenant first program, we're locking in a special price designed just for you, which is only a 4% appreciation per year, right? So that, as you see in this example, you're locking in at a price of $675,000. So that increase in equity, that $168,000 increase in equity, that belongs to you, the tenant, right? So this program is really beneficial to you as the client, as the tenant, because this appreciation, that $168,000, that does not belong to the landlord, that belongs to you. So you have such an upper hand going into the program by the time you're coming out, because you have, one, your savings that you're accumulating every month, Plus, you have the increase in equity that's happening with the general market. Back to you.
Well said, Sean. Well said. Let's go to the next slide, if you don't mind.
Okay, so actually, the next slide, we're back to me. So, who can benefit from the rent-to-own program? Now, if you currently have good credit, a good down payment, then the rent-to-own program may not be for you, right? We have other programs that would be more beneficial for you, right? Mm-hmm. So this rent-to-own program is really for someone that may have been declined for a mortgage due to financing, right? If you have a bad credit profile, if you have poor credit, if you did not pass the affordability test, the new stress test that is in Ontario, right? That's putting extra, I guess you can say, burdens on new homeowners, right? So what this program does is it kind of prepares you and kind of preps you for home ownership, right? Because you get into the house that you want, you get to choose the house of your desire, and then you start building up your credit, because the program is designed in a way that we help you push you forward, right? Before I go back there, the other barriers that you may be preventing you from getting into a home, maybe you're new to the country, right? You just moved to Canada, you just moved to Ontario, and sometimes the banks want to see that you've been here for a while before they would grant you a mortgage. If you're self-employed, income declaration. If you just started a new career, sometimes the banks want to see that you have a good track record, but sometimes you may not have that track record, being that you just started your new career, right? If you have been in bankruptcy or consumer proposal, all these different factors that may be preventing you to get into home ownership the traditional way, well, this rent-to-own program would be good for you as an alternative to help you get on the path towards home ownership. So, moving along, what closing costs can you expect? So first and foremost, we have your regular moving day expenses, whatever costs are associated with renting your truck, hiring movers, boxes, tape, etc. As well, a home inspection, which is required on any home that you purchase. As we said, you're free reign with this program to purchase any home in Ontario. So with this program, we want to make sure that your financial interests are protected, as well as the investors who are behind you, providing you with the funds. So we want to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the home behind the doors, behind the walls. So home inspection is required. That is $550 on average. As well, full transparency, we want you as a client to be comfortable. So we recommend that you get your own independent legal advice, your own separate lawyer who can explain the contracts to you so that you fully understand what it is we are providing. On average, lawyers charge in the $400 to $500 range for independent legal advice. As well, there is an initial program deposit. This is $975, and this gets returned to you at the completion of the program. This is just a deposit. As well, once you decide which house you want and you select your moving day, the first month payment is due upon closing. So these are the home closing costs that you can expect with the rent-to-own program. As well, as I mentioned earlier, we want to see you guys succeed. This is a tenant first program, not a landlord first program. So our main goal is to help change your position. So with this program, you will first get a complimentary personal financial assessment. You will meet with one of our financial planners who will go over your finances and will put together a nice strategy, a saving strategy, go over your financial goals and your budgeting to make sure that you have success with the program. As well, there is a mortgage eligibility assessment. We want to make sure that you are in position to get a mortgage on your own at the graduation of the program. We have a high success rate, and that's because of the amount of planning that we go through and how much we work with our potential clients to make sure that they are primed to take on home ownership. As well, there is a financial success exit strategy plan, so that at the end of the program, you know exactly how much you're getting the house for, you know how much of a down payment is required, so that you are primed for success. As well, if you have poor or damaged credit, there is a credit building coaching segment of the program where we pair you up with a credit coach who's going to strategically help build your credit. So if you come into the program in the 400s and the 500s. By the end of the program, we will have you prepped in maybe, the high 6s, 7s, or 8s, right? It is a teamwork program. So we work with you, you work with us, and you do your part, we do our part. As well, part of the program, you will be working with some of the most experienced professionals in the industry, from access to licensed real estate agents such as myself, Sean Findlay, and Ian Lovell, as well as behind the scenes lawyers, financial planners, mortgage brokers, all the core elements that you need to get success. As well with the program, we want you guys to share the good news. We want you to spread the word. So we do have a referral program in place so that each friend or family member that you refer to the program, you will be compensated for doing so. As well, you'll have access to monthly events. Our program, we want to see you shine. We want to make sure that you are successful. We want to make sure that you are part of our high success rate on graduation. So each month, there's monthly events, whether it's credit building events, debt management events, income generation events that you will be introduced to so that you can help build on a multi-level platform.
Well, that's it.
Yes, that's it. So if you're thinking of rent to own is right for you, we believe that if you're living in Ontario and you're not currently owning, that you should be working towards home ownership. So yes, rent to own can be a good pathway for you. And lastly, we're going to go over the process. So quick 4 steps. First thing you need to do is just quickly sign up for the program. As licensed realtors, you need to register with us so that we can get you enrolled. The next step is the mortgage pre-approval. We don't want you to go in blindly. We want to make sure that you know how much you can be approved for. Once you've been pre-approved, that's when we go on to the fun search stuff, which is the home search. We get to go out and look at numerous homes that are within your pre-approved budget. After that, you pick your move-in date, and that's when you get the keys and move into the house of your choice.
All right. Good stuff. Get Sean directly. We have his email address, and we have my email address. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to help you get started with the rent zone. And I'll tell you, it's a life-changing experience, and we're looking forward to seeing how we can help change your life and change the legacy of your family. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you, guys.
The goal in life is to be mortgage free. Control your emotions, have integrity.